neglect to maintain it. And then this is when we suffer with maybe sleep issues, and obviously in the highly stressful world we live in, getting a good restful night's sleep is something that we suffer from.
So before we get into the system, because we've got to talk about that, but tell us about your journey, because we haven't got there first. That's a very media thing to say. What's that, Mark?
Is that playing off your laptop?
Yeah. Sorry, this is such a bizarre thing, but okay, apologies for that. Mark, is it all going okay over there? Apologies for anyone watching this. Is it that thing plugged in as well, Mark?
It's fine now.
Is that one plugged in? The actual plug.
Look, you can see that.
Yeah, but the thing
It's
keeps.
fine, trust me. This is the monitor. It keeps happening.
Yeah, but it might be because I've not plugged it in at the plug by the cat flap. Oh, it is, okay. All right, cool. So tell us all about your story then, how you got to this.
So I was a project manager in a technology team for a financial services company in Bournemouth. And I was going along great in my career, was newly married, and then I had my daughter, and I thought, I can do this. I can be Wonder Woman and maintain everything I had built up. So there I was juggling it away. But it wasn't until I think I returned to work, still maintaining that full-time career, whilst trying to have a handle on everything else. And that's when I realised the pressures I was putting on myself. But I neglected to do anything about them. And one day I just simply broke. In hindsight, I look back and there were many warning signs, but I failed to do anything about them. I kind of hit rock bottom.
Why do you think? Why were you trying to be Wonder Woman? Do you think this is just inherent in you, or do you think it's a media message?
I later found out it was more so a part of who I am and how I was maybe brought up. That's a whole other story.
Right, okay.
But the pressures of media as well, because you see these mums or these other people that you believe have got it all together, and they're still able to work and have a family and do this. And
do you think you're being sold a life that is unattainable at the moment as women? I spoke to Will Storr about this on my podcast, and he was saying we're sending bad messages to men and women. The idea that you can be a mum, you can party, you can work, you can do yoga, you can do this, watch Netflix. You've got to be able to do everything, and there's not enough time in the day, really, is there?
Absolutely not. So it was keeping up with everybody else, and even within my own social circle, it wasn't just social media, it was within my social circle. I saw friends who seemed to just be doing it, and they were succeeding, or at least I thought so. So you actually realize, no, everybody's got stuff going on, they're just getting through it in their own way. But it took me having depression to then be able to open up with my peers and with other people as well, to be like.
So was it a slow gradual breakdown, or was it just bam, one day you woke up and went
just nosedive?
Okay. And did you never experienced it before? Any sort of depression or anything?
When I looked, so the incident happened for me, it was a full-on nosedive one afternoon, to which my everything just shut down. I stopped. But when I looked back, yes, there were lots of warning signs. There were many moments in my life where I realized that was a panic attack, or okay, that was anxiety. That was probably a depression episode.
Mm-hmm.
But neither of those that had happened before had hit me so hard as this moment. And I believe it's because I neglected all of those other moments.
So then what got you into setting up your own business then? What got you into CBD?
So having had the depression, I was signed off of work. and I then looked into alternative ways that I could handle my anxiety and depression. So with that, I spoke with a friend of mine who also worked with me, and John mentioned CBD. And I didn't know what this was, never heard of it. On more explanation, found out that it was derived from cannabis oil, and my ignorance was that's illegal. What is this thing? So on further investigation, I realised it is legal in the UK, and then I started learning about the whole THC regulations, the levels that you're allowed to have in the UK, and then everything seemed to kind of hit at the same time, because around that time, I don't know if I can say, a local, a high street retailer, not a local, a high street retailer,
Holland and Barrett.
Holland and Barrett, yes. High street retailer Holland and Barrett were one of the first to bring it to the high street.
Weren't their levels ridiculously small?
No comment.
Weren't they? Well, I thought they were like 2% or something. What were they? 2.5% to 5%. But does that do anything?
I think they go up to about 10 now.
Does that do anything?
It's not for me to say, because like you said...
yes, it is. You're an expert. You've got a company. You're trying to flog high percentage.
So I'm forever thankful for those, for them to bring it to the...
So did you take that one?
I did, to begin with.
And did it have an effect on you? Or was it placebo? Do you know?
I personally didn't have any effect on their lower percentages. But it was through them that I started looking into, and I noticed that it wasn't just Holland and Barrett retailing it. I was oblivious to this whole other group of people who were also doing it. And in defense of Holland and Barrett, they can't start putting 40% CBD oil on there, because it's not what people are not ready for it. I mean, we are, but industry isn't. You know, the Mail Online will go, oh my God, they're selling us drugs and stuff like that. So they've done the right way. I'm sure they'll stock it eventually. Absolutely. But I think because they were ready to make that step onto the high street, I think it was a sensible move to introduce it in the same way as, say, Bax Remedies, isn't it? And things like that.
But I'm right in thinking that you believe the higher strains are much better for you.
Absolutely. They will work faster and more effectively, I believe. Yes.
So then how did you get from looking at that thinking I'm going to set my own company up then?
So when I understood that there were many other companies out there, they all tended to do around the same strengths. I contacted the CTA, that's the Cannabis Trades Association. I understood that they are an accredited body who will, you join as a member, and they keep you up to date with all of the UK laws, guidelines, and they're there, you know, in our corner to push the legalization of cannabis as a whole. Is their driving force, but in the meantime they're there to support retailers of hemp and CBD.
Do you believe cannabis should be legal, the whole shebang?
I do, yes.
Yeah, I do. Anyway, we've done lots of podcasts on that, but there you go. For different reasons maybe, but I do think the health reasons are good on this. Anyway, carry on. So what made you set up a company?
So I spoke with the CTA, and my first question was around why everybody who is out there at the moment tends to do these 2.5%, 5%, 10%. And their simple answer was, I don't know, they just choose to do those. And then it was more around the legalization of it. Is there a strength limit? Is there a reason why we can't go any higher, if I could make it higher? And the simple explanation was, if it's a CBD oil, as long as it doesn't exceed 0.2% THC, it's perfectly legal. So we got to making the CBD oil, and our aim was to do the much higher strengths. So we did the 20, 30 and 40, and that's when I started using for myself with regards to my mental health, and to compare those lower strengths with the effects of our higher strengths, and to see if there was a difference in how fast and effective it works.
And obviously it worked for you. That's why you loved it. And how long did it take before it worked?
So I always say consistency is key. So I used it every day, twice a day for a week to begin with, to understand the true effects. But within about a day or two, because like you, I was dubious, is it just a placebo? Is it just a placebo happening? I found my drives were a lot more pleasant, less road rage maybe, and I thought, oh, am I just feeling happy today? Is it in my head?
Do you think there's got to be placebo element to that though as well?
I think in the way that it's been researched that it works with your brain receptors. So in a way, it is tweaking those dopamine and feel good factors. So in a way, yes.
So how easy was it to set up a company then?
The process took a lot longer than we anticipated, maybe. I think that was more around the naivety of us coming out with a product like CBD. So due to the nature of the product, the hurdles we've hit along the way were due to us being a bit naive, thinking, oh yeah, we can just do that. No, we can just set up a website and we can just have any old payment gateway. That hasn't been the case because to a lot of companies, CBD is still considered a narcotic. So there are certain payment gateways we can't use on our website. There are certain things we needed to ensure were covered. So first and foremost, after we made our high-strength CBD oils, the most important thing we needed to do next was to have them lab tested. So we went to a third-party lab. That was so we can get the information back for us to see what levels of THC were in it, to make sure we're abiding before we can retail them. And secondly, that we can give to the customers and those people visiting our website so they can see what exactly is in our CBD, what levels of cannabinoids, including THC, is within it. So should they be curious about using it but concerned about other medications they're on, the lab reports are there for them to show their medical practitioner as well.
How do you actually get the stuff out of it then? By the way, I've got to say, this is not cheap. The product isn't cheap, is it? It's the 40%, you're talking 200 for 10 milliliters. You're only taking drops though, aren't you? I'm just reading here, it's 200 drops you've got in a bottle, roughly. So it's 200 for that. For 30, it's what? I can't remember.
149.
And then for 20%, it's
199.99.
No, that's 40%.
Sorry, 119.99.
Yeah. Why is it so expensive?
When you compare it to the lower strengths that are on the market, so your 2.5 to your 10% range, range from about £15 to £60, depending on the brand. And they're the lower strengths. The cost is down to the CBD and the quality of the CBD that is used. CBD isn't grown in the UK for the purpose of well
there's a lot of it. We grow so much of it. We export it apparently, but it's not legally grown. Yeah, I understand that.
So we import it from the EU. Yes, there are companies out there who are.
But what I mean is, it's not hard. Can it be hard to get the stuff out of the cannabis, to get the oil out? Is it a tough thing to do?
So we can't do that because that means us having the whole plant, and that would be illegal in the UK.
Yeah, I'm talking about the people who are getting it off. Why are they charging so much to get it out?
It's the way it's CO2 cold press extracted, so that pulls in all the cannabinoids and the terpenes. So it's in the method of how it is grown, how it is harvested, and how it is then cold pressed.
So where's your stuff from?
Our stuff is from Poland.
Poland. Okay, so you've got somebody who makes it for you, manufactures it. There
is a farm out there, and they CO2 cold press extract it, and then we get it.
But it's not your farm. You buy it off them, and then they do it, and then you you package it up and sell it on. What's the difference between? Is there other places? Did you look around the planet for
There
the globe
were,
for?
yes. So when we first started the business, the original default option was to engage with a white label company.
Right.
So these guys have already dealt with the farms.
Yeah.
They get it in, and they will label and box it up for you. The thing we found with this is they only dealt with lower strengths, and that's what initiated us into doing the higher strengths as well. It's like, well, I don't want to go and bring out loads of other low strengths that I believe isn't the way forward.
Why do you believe the high strength ones are so? Why do you believe it's so important to have the high strength ones?
There was a market for it. There was an opportunity. It didn't feel like people were using the product to its best potential. Yes, by having the higher strengths, it does make the product somewhat expensive and therefore out of reach, maybe to many. They may feel that way. But for me, it was something that was going to work and work quickly. And having the mental health issues I had, that was something that I wanted. And when I was having a panic attack, or I wanted it to work quickly and effectively.
So I've looked at the feedback on your product, and people like it. They're coming back for more, which is a good thing, right? So and you're only new, so that's good for you. What other things are people saying that it's healing them of?
So on our reviews, we've had people using it for fibromyalgia.
What's that?
That is chronic fatigue,
right? Okay.
Body in pain. Some days you may be good to get up and go. Other days you are shut down. Yeah. And it kind of rings true for those times I had depression. There were days where nothing was going to work.
I've been there.
Mm-hmm. Your body just feels broken. It doesn't want to do
Hurts.
anything.
It's always the funny thing. I not funny. It's far from funny. But the thing I always think about depression, when people say, "What have you got to be depressed about?" or something like that, or they talk flippantly about depression. I think people don't realise that if you've never had it, it actually physically hurts. But you can't quite explain how you're just sort of in pain all over, mentally, physically, everything. It's kind of strange. I never understood it. So it's mental health, and you think depression, and you think it's all the head. Yeah. But it's not. It was every part of me, right down to my toes. So there are other things that you've had experience with yours.
Other reviews mention ME, so again, chronic fatigue. Insomnia has been an amazing one that keeps coming back again and again. What else have we had?
Well, the insomnia one definitely is something that I've not suffered from since I've been taking it. There are some...
arthritis is another key one. Where really, absolutely.
Well, if you search it, it's, the things that people... I met a woman years ago who was in a bar, and she was dropping... This got to be 10, 12 years ago, and she's dropping CBD oil into her drink. And I said to her, "What are you doing?" And she said, CBD oil. And she showed me, she went, "I've had a brain, a tumour." And then she showed me a picture, and she said, "Since I've been doing this," they said it was terminal, "but since I've been doing this, look at it, and it's shrunk." And I just sat there with my mate going, "This woman's a bit of a loony." Anyway, I went home and researched CBD and cannabis, and cancer. CBD oil and cancer. I got cannabis oil and cancer. And there's so many people who say this has by the way, I'm not saying it does, and I don't know whether this woman's story was true, but there's so many people link it with the benefits of healing cancer. It's amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's, again, I cannot say it is a cure for cancer, but even down to the feedback of when you're going through that time mentally and emotionally, the benefits it can have, but also chemotherapy, radiotherapy. And I mentioned again how CBD works with the body. So while chemotherapy and radiotherapy is working against your body to fight the cancer, and your body is really being taken through its toll as it is, the benefits people say from CBD is, again, with working with the body, it reduces the nausea that comes with that. So at least you're able to eat when you might not usually be able to, or it's there to reboost up the immune system. So if you go back to the endocannabinoid, it's there to help balance back out your immune system. So while your body's being attacked to get better, at least it keeps it on a level keel to...
Though I was with someone the other day, and they use cannabis for health reasons. They're in a lot of pain with ME, and they firmly believe that you need the THC in it. But that's the only way they've ever done it, by the way. So they've never tried the CBD oil. And I said, well, this is a high strength one. They said, oh, that might be different. But do you think it needs the THC? By the way, he said he couldn't live without his, and he knows he has to take it illegally. How mad's that?
Yeah,
it's the only thing which is helping him. Apart from drugs, which were killing his body.
Yeah.
Absolutely ripping his liver apart, apparently, and stuff like that. And so he's gone to this, and anyway.
No, you don't need the THC, because the CBD is all the benefits without the high.
Right.
But there are some elements where that THC is most beneficial. For me personally, and if everyone's familiar with the Alfie story, the little boy with epilepsy.
Yeah.
So
is that the airports? That's unbelievable,
so
wasn't it?
He and that particular type of epilepsy, it is beneficial
to
have a 50-50 THC to CBD.
Right. So they wanted to bring the drug in to help the boy, and they stopped at the airport, and they wouldn't let the drug in. And that, I can't remember what actually happened in the end. What happened? But there was all these people slightly outraged that the fact this kid couldn't get the medicine that he requires.
Yeah. So
which is a natural medicine.
His mother, I think, had gone. I'm not sure if it's Canada or America. Is where they got it from, because there's certain states in the US that CBD is legal. Still bear in mind, not all states have legalized CBD.
Really? As a
states.
Country, it's not legal, but in states they've
acknowledged it.
Yeah, it's
not
going,
all.
isn't it? They've just legalized some mushrooms in Denver, which is interesting as well, because I think that's another thing that we need to look into, especially for mental health and various other reasons. What's the difference between cannabis oil and hemp oil?
So the hemp plant and the hemp seed oil is what we need to think of when it comes to building materials, paper, cooking oil. There's naturally no THC that grows in that. You don't tend to smoke the hemp oil. But cannabis oil is another strain of cannabis. So you have your different strains. I believe there's over 111 types of cannabis.
Right, hemp's one type
and hemp's one of them, marijuana's one of them, and then you've got the cannabidiol. Because
when you go online to try and buy it, so you go to Amazon or something, it seems that you can only buy hemp.
Yes, you cannot buy CBD on Amazon.
Because of it's illegal in... It's not illegal over here,
though. No,
why?
It's an Amazon policy. Even though in the UK we can only retail it as a food supplement, and we have to state that it's a food supplement. I'm not quite sure on the company's reasoning for their policy, but even though we consider it a food supplement, the policy does see CBD as a narcotic.
Okay, there's news this week. Indecision reigns over the current CBD novel food status as industry groups clash with authorities. What does this mean? What is happening here? What is novel food status?
So this came about earlier this year, and it did put a couple of CBD businesses, us included, into a little bit of a panic because we hadn't quite launched yet, that they were going to mark CBD as a novel food, and therefore it would be deemed illegal. We made the decision to be members of the CTA, the Cannabis Trade Association. And as I mentioned before, they work with us and with the Home Office in ensuring that the members of the CTA abide to UK guidelines, UK regulations, the Medical Health Regulation Authority. So to ensure that we have the adequate lab reports, where we're sourcing it from, that our labelling and packaging abide to the UK guidelines. So we have been assured that those who are members of the CTA are in a safe zone, let's say.
Is there a lot of crap out there?
There's a lot of people who aren't members of the CTA.
Is there a lot of crap out there?
That's their choice. You don't have to be regulated by the CDA. But
is there a lot of rubbish out there?
What concerns me about those companies is they don't have to provide their lab reports. They don't have to provide where they're sourcing it from.
So is there a lot of rubbish out there? Why are you answering the question? I assume it is a bit Wild West out there at the moment. If the people like Amazon and stuff aren't stocking it, then I imagine there's a lot of people going, well, I can just flog this crap at 5% and put 40% on it.
Yes, I think that when you say it's getting a bit Wild West, annoyingly and unfortunately, it's great that CBD is being more recognised. It's great that there are more companies retailing it. What's not great is that they don't have to be regulated. So I feel comfortable being with the CTA. I want to be regulated. I want to make sure I'm bringing the stuff.
If people always assume it's illegal, like it is, and it'd be better off at Holland & Barrett to actually stop 40%, because then everyone would come in line, and then we'd know that you're all getting, because they can't not stock the good stuff. But how do you make sure your stock's always consistent?
So we make it up in batches.
Yeah.
And
then you get it tested.
Every time we get a batch done, we send it off for a third-party lab testing.
Right.
So for our reassurance that we know that it meets the percentages that we've planned for and the THC.
All right. So 40%, because I'm just a little bit not quite understanding everything. If you've got 40% CBD it's 40% what's the rest of the oil? What's the other 60%? I'm confused.
Our carrier oil is hemp seed oil.
Right. Okay. So that's what makes up the other. Okay. All right. So you get pure CBD oil.
Pure CBD oil.
And then you add it to.
And we add the hemp seed oil to it to make up the percentage levels.
And there's no point in selling 100% CBD oil.
I think it would come up too high in THC for us.
Oh, okay, right, because of the THC thing. And I've also got to say at this point, there are some side effects to it. Like everything, people say there's side effects. So I'm just going to read some of them here because I've just looked it up online. Anxiety can be one of them, changes in appetite, changes in mood, diarrhea, dizziness, drowsiness, dry mouth, nausea. But it says some research indicates that it could. I haven't had any of these personally, but I imagine anything you take could have effect with you. Are you finding there's any side effects with yours so far?
I am not aware of there being any side effects of CBD at all. I'm the one for drowsiness. I'm not a fan of that one because we haven't had to label it is making you drowsy, so you can't drive or handle heavy machinery. We haven't had to say that. I think it just makes you relaxed. It just takes the edge off.
Right. Okay. All right. So sorry. Going back to the food thing. Where are we then? Are you still a food, or what are you turning into?
Food supplement.
Yeah. What's the argument going on?
So the argument going on with novel food. So is it novel? Is it a new thing that's just come out? I think the other thing they are considering novel is chia seeds.
Right.
Which is quite new, but in the last, 6-7 years, chia seeds have been quite popular. So
you don't want to be a novel food?
We're not a novel food.
Right. And if you are a novel food, what does that make it?
Cannabis has been around.
Yeah, but what does it make it if you're novel? How does that affect you?
They would consider it illegal, and they would want to regulate it on a greater level because it's new to the market. What is this thing? We don't know. We don't know the health risks around it. We don't know how people may react to it. So, but I don't know how you can say that when it's been around for a very, very long time and used by a lot of people.
So how are you going about marketing it then?
Apart
from approaching me on Instagram. It's a good idea though. Because I'm open to these things. So, you know, it's a good idea to approach someone like me.
So we just, because again, the limitations with regard to the nature of the product, we aren't able to advertise on Facebook, can't advertise on Google or Instagram. We have accounts on those social media platforms, and we are advertising in the good old-fashioned way of we're hitting up some print magazines for advertisements. We are reaching out to people who would be interested in using the CBD. We're kind of against influencers and getting people to market it via social media, because I don't want to pay someone to say it's good. I know it's good and I want it to help people, and that's the thing for us. We are real, authentic people. I've got a history with mental health. The product means a lot to me. It's why I've made the product. And I was sharing it amongst friends and family to say, look, this is something that's working for me. There's something in this. It's not a fad. And I just want to be able to share it with everybody
Can you
else.
describe how you feel then on it now after we understood you're in pain, you're in trauma and you're depressed. How do you feel now?
I feel back in control again. Like when we touched on, is it addictive? I don't know. On the days when I feel like I'm going to have a wobble, I like to know it's in my handbag. It's my crutch. It's in there. I know that a few drops of that will put me back on an even keel again.
Like bringing your stress levels down, like getting rid of the anxiety?
Yes.
Okay.
I sometimes I can feel myself go from like 1 to 100 like that. And it just brings me straight back down again. And I realise, why was I even considering allowing myself to get like that? It doesn't matter.
Does it worry you that you have to take this thing for the rest of your life, though? Seems that's what you're implying that you're going to do.
I was more worried about having to take something else for the rest of my life.
An
That
antidepressant.
scared me. And I became a lot more anxious about coming off of that. And that's what led me to look into CBD.
But have you changed your lifestyle as well?
Yes. So I did leave my career behind. So that was a physical step I knew I needed to make to better my situation. But like I said, those depressive wobbles still come in now, and I know I have a better handle on them.
Have you thought about making edibles and things like that, like they do?
We have, yes, yeah.
Is that something that would work? Do you think?
They do work, but it's in a different kind of format. So the CBD oil we have is in a dropper bottle form. So by dropping it under the tongue, it allows your body to absorb the oil much more quickly. So you'll probably notice something within about 15 to 30 minutes. You'll notice anxiety relieved, pain subsided.
I don't feel when I've taken it, I don't feel sleepy, but when I put my head on the thing, I sleep. I don't suddenly. It's not like getting stoned or something or drinking alcohol where I didn't really feel that. My head hits the pill and I fall asleep. It's strange. And
that's why I'm not a fan of the word. It makes me drowsy. If you're tired, it's because your body's tired. If you feel drowsy, it's because your body's like, oh, I've had enough, I'm tired. By taking the CBD, it just calms you so that when you're in that position to sleep, then it kicks in and allows you to go off.
I'm a big fan of legalizing cannabis. Totally. I'm a big fan of legalizing all drugs totally, but you have to listen to my old podcast with Johan Hari and Neil Woods if you want to hear that sort of stuff. They've convinced me and I've completely rethought it all. However, I'm also a big fan of the non-commercialization of it as well, which I know a lot of people are pitching for, which is like, let's legalize this, but you can't make it commercial. And I think that's a good idea, don't you? You're talking about your advertising there or how you can market it. We can't have it like an alcohol.
No, and it.
Drink this and it'll be fun, and we can run down the beach. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we could smoke this sort of thing. I think that's the right way to go, isn't it? Do you think?
Absolutely, because it's you're not selling it as this. I don't like. Can I say Coca-Cola? It's not this product that's gonna, you know.
Yeah, you
It's
can't
not,
sell a lifestyle really
that's
with these sort of drugs. I think that's the important thing, and I worry where if we do legalise, we're going to end up going down there. And the reason why I worry about that is, as I understand it, I've done a tiny bit of research, is that we're one of the leading people in this industry, the cannabis industry, even though it's illegal over here. Apparently, North America, Canada came to the city to finance it, and it's us, our money, Britain. We're leading the way with this stuff, aren't we? We're the ones funding this industry, and yet it's illegal over here. Which seems so hypocritical, really.
Yeah, the UK's largest exporter. Yeah. So therefore, there's obviously recognition in CBD. That company in particular, who is the largest UK exporter of cannabis, particularly specialise in the CBD for epilepsy.
But they don't.
And MS.
We don't grow it. Or do we?
It's grown and produced, I believe. Might need to be quoted on that. It is grown here, yes.
We grow it illegally.
We grow it?
No.
Well, there's slight rules. Yeah, they have a license.
So we're allowed to grow it here.
We can't. They have a license.
Some people are growing it here.
I could apply for a license,
and then we sell
grow,
it abroad.
But I probably wouldn't be accepted for the license to grow it. But there is there is a company who do grow it for the purpose of CBD for pharmaceutical use for epilepsy and MS in particular, I believe it is, and yet export it abroad.
But we're not allowed to have it over here.
But they don't recognise it for the medicinal purpose here. It's now been accepted that there are several medical practitioners who can distribute.
But we're also financing, as I understand it, the actual legal industry in America, as in states side. There's a lot of city money going into that as well.
It's recognised.
Okay, which is why the British public kind of hate our politicians sometimes because we're allowed to finance it and make loads of money for the city and everything, yet we're not allowed to have it over here. It's very hypocritical.
It's like, frustrating. It's like, so you see that it does have benefit medicinally in this area, but why
even
not?
that? Why have we got alcohol if we're not allowed to do that? When alcohol is a lot more dangerous. It's just ludicrous. And we've got the commercialisation of alcohol as well. They're allowed to push this stuff on us constantly. I like alcohol, by the way, and so I'm not anti it at all. I'm not anti. Since I've had my mind completely changed in the last 3 or 4 months, I'm completely into the idea of not having prohibition on drugs. It just seems so ludicrous to get rid of the crime and everything like that. But we're getting away from it. But it's interesting that we are such big players in the marketplace, and it's just, how are we getting on with? Do you know anything about the political side, lobbying them or doing all that? I know that that we seem to be going that way. We're going to start legalizing this stuff soon.
It feels that way. It does feel that way, and I'm hopeful that if they can recognise the benefits here, then surely there is a future for us to see the benefit. You don't just have to look at the states in America that have legalised it. You've got Canada, and I think more recently New Zealand, and then not even to mention Switzerland's acknowledgement of cannabis.
Yeah.
And
if anyone's interested in this stuff, by the way, follow UK Leap, LEAP, UK Leap on Twitter, because they're our organisation over here trying to legalise all this stuff. So it's worth following them to see what they're up to. All right, let's get back to this stuff then. What is is it the EDS system? Is that what it's called?
Yes, the Endocannabinoid System. Okay,
which I've never heard of. Done my biology. I got maybe a B in biology. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I hadn't until I started looking into CBD. It's, if we look at our body as a machine, and a machine would need regular maintenance, care, a bit of degreasing here and there, maybe an upgrade. So if we consider our body a machine and how much we neglect on self-care, and I don't just mean aesthetically, but real self-care. And I'll go back to the times when I nosedived into depression. I ignored a lot of the warning lights that had gone on in my life where my machine was breaking. And had I not, I could have maybe dealt with that situation before it came to a head. So my machine was flagging all these warning lights of self-care that I wasn't looking to do. I wasn't taking any time for me. I was putting too much on my plate. I was trying to please everybody else. Wasn't getting the adequate sleep that I needed because I wasn't shutting off. And the way CBD again works with the body, so your endocannabinoid system, the biggest system we never heard of, obviously the best thing to help maintain your endocannabinoid system is cannabinoids.
Yeah, but why haven't we heard of it? Is it a real system?
It is a real system.
But what? Who discovered it and when? It's
a part of what works with the head and the body and the pain receptors. It's been there. It's just been brought to light around the whole cannabinoid thing. So yeah, when you think of cannabinoids, obviously cannabis is inclusive in aiding your cannabinoid system, but cannabinoids can also be found in a lot of greens like broccoli and spinach and things like that. So it's where we have neglected to maintain our diets naturally as mammals, to aid our mental and physical health, really. And that's how CBD works with it. So it sees where those lights are flashing or where you're lacking in something, or whether you've got too much of something going on in your body to create that balance.
Okay. The what's it called? I can't say this word. Endocannabinoid system. Is that what it's called? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And have I said it right? Yep. Okay. I'm just looking up here. It's bizarre. So it's got its own page. I wonder why it's pretty new. Is it then? We've sort of looked into this, have we?
I think it was discovered in the 40s, because that's when they started looking into CBD and the benefits of the cannabidiol part of cannabis.
So it says functions of the system: memory, appetite. My memory's terrible. Will this help me remember anything in my life? I can't remember anything in the life. Somebody contacted me the other day and goes, "Do you remember meeting me? We spent a few days on a train in Greece." It's like, no, I mean, never. It's like, and I had to look back and try and remember actually being in Greece. Appetite. Apparently it does your appetite, energy balance and metabolism, stress response. So these are all the things, isn't it? An immune function, multiple sclerosis, female reproduction. Oh, is it good for that?
So when you look at those things, and we go back to the endocannabinoid system, if one or two things aren't working, something else is going to shut down. And then eventually, like I said, I broke. So when you're not feeling your best self, something's probably wrong. You're not getting enough of something, or you're getting too much of something in your body. So it's due to a lack or an increase in your system that makes you maybe feel lethargic, that makes you maybe feel nauseous, that makes you maybe a little bit anxious that day because you're a little bit off track. When you mentioned female reproduction,
yeah.
Can it make you get pregnant? No, but during that time you might have high anxiety, you might not be sleeping properly or eating properly. So CBD will help balance that, which may in turn help with other matters.
And when I just mentioned their appetite, famously, when you get high, you get hungry. Not that I would ever know. The munchies. Does this make you hungry? How does it affect your appetite?
I wouldn't say it gives me the munchies or makes me hungry. By appetite, I think it's more along the lines of if you're feeling nauseous, it all leads to the greater thing. So if you're feeling nauseous because something else is wrong, CBD can fix that and you won't feel nauseous again.
Right.
If you are feeling, if you struggle because you maybe eat too much, you do over consume possibly. By taking CBD, no, it doesn't make you lose weight by any means, but it will look at maybe, why do you do that? Why do you maybe binge on something? Are you enjoying it? Are you eating it? Or is there a mental health issue there? Is there anxiety? Does something trigger you to then feel the need to do that? So the CBD will work with that in order to reduce.
Can it show up on a, I know a lot of people these days get tested at work, drug tests. Can it show up as being a substance?
It will come up as a, I want to say negative positive, false positive.
False positive.
So our CBD, obviously it comes in under 0.2 THC. So that's only really trace THC. And only our 40% hits the 0.2 mark. Our 30 and our 20 come in a lot further under. So it could produce a false positive.
And does it? You sort of slightly mentioned it earlier. Are you allowed to do heavy machinery and all those sort of things? Fly planes?
Yep.
Are you allowed to be my pilot if you're taking CBD oil?
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason. Yeah, we've never been told that you can't handle heavy machinery or drive a vehicle under the influence of CBD.
And you've had no side effects from it at all?
I haven't. No, I think that like you said, some people may be susceptible to those things.
You can't say there aren't, because if I take too many paracetamol, I go dizzy. So that's. But most people don't have that effect on them.
No, the general consensus is there's not any side effects.
Okay.
I feel to get an upset tummy, you'd have to take quite a lot of it in one go, and that's probably going to be more the hemp seed oil.
So it's a pretty natural product. How did you decide on the name, Cannadox?
It just came to be. We were under a different name to begin with. I guess I can say it. It was Dr. Canna to begin with, but we were informed that we could not retail under Dr. Canna due to the medicinal link.
Oh, hey, it's a good idea though. It's
So
I kind of like the fact that that's a great marketing idea. That's really good. But I quite like the fact they've told you can't do it as well, which means the world's working, or they're working well over here. That they're saying no, you can't do that, in case you don't believe it. I suppose they must be doing a lot of research on this at the moment.
Yes,
are they?
are.
Have they started doing research on it?
Yes.
Are you worried that the big guns are going to come in soon and just try and steal your market from you? It's quite good at the moment for you, isn't it? That it's perceived this way.
Yeah.
It's perceived as illegal.
Yes.
Because you've got
a
head start.
Am I worried? If the big pharmaceutical companies come in, no, because if it makes it that much more accessible to those who feel that they cannot afford Cannadox, and that's where I worry, because that's not the intention of Cannadox. It's not for people who can afford it. That's not what I want from it. So how I try to make that message come through through my website and through social media is, yes, it's a small bottle. Yes, it is. So the 30% is £150. But I try to stress that when you look at the amount of drops you need from a 200 drop bottle is far more minimal than that of maybe a 2.5-5%. You might have to take a lot more to even get halfway there. Then I don't feel it's that expensive a product. I recently stated that 2 drops of our 30% twice a day is cheaper than your daily coffee. So it depends on the price. What price would you put on your
I know
health?
I get a buzz off a coffee though. Definitely know I get a buzz off a coffee, Hayley, every morning. Well, listen, thank you for coming on. I've got the questions that I ask everyone, which I'll do with you. As I said, it's hard this, because I don't want it just to be a big advert. At the moment, I've taken it for a week and I'm sleeping really well. I haven't noticed much else different, but I'll carry on. And then I'll let the listeners know how I like experimenting on myself. So I'll do that. Let me know when you start stocking mushrooms as well, because I quite fancy that, which I've never done. So, yeah, if you could let me know that must be on there. You must be thinking about those things.
So yeah, so we only really just launched with these 3 all natural CBD
Yeah.
oils, but yeah, we have a big
Because they're going to be legalized one day, aren't they? What are they called? That's the psilocybin.
Psilocybin.
What?
Psilocybin.
Psilocybin. That's the one, isn't it? So there must be a future in that at some stage. Okay. Let me ask you the question. By the way, if you want to look into this product, it's spelled CANNADOX, and you're on Instagram?
We are, yes.
Just on that name?
Cannabis, yeah.
Cannabis, okay. All right, let's ask you the questions. What one piece of advice would you like to give our listeners that has been invaluable to your life?
Don't be afraid to say yes. The amount of times that I've just gone ahead and gone yes has led me to meet new and interesting people, have great adventures, and just experiences I wouldn't have taken. I used it while I was traveling, and I did some amazing things, and it even led me to meeting my husband. Long story short, I was invited away, didn't really want to go, said yes, just go with it, just say yes. And then that's how we met, and I've never looked back.
Does he use the oil?
He does, yes.
Okay. All right. So are you enjoying setting up this company, by the way? Is it good fun?
Yeah, it is good fun. Not coming from a retail or marketing background, it's all very new. But yeah, it's good fun. And I just love speaking with our customers and other people who are interested in CBD.
It's a tough thing though, because everything, like even how much stock to buy and things like that, must be quite a challenge.
Yes, it's knowing how much of the batches to make up, and it's all yeah.
Does it go off, or have you got years on it?
We have to put a expiry date.
October 2019, this one.
Yes, but like alcohol, it's not going to go off, and like most essential oils, they don't have an expiry date really.
Right. Okay. Have you thought about doing Dragon's Den or something?
I have considered it, but it's not new. We're not bringing anything new, so I feel a little bit wrong to approach them. Normally they've invented something. I haven't invented anything.
I keep telling people about it because I knew you were coming on. You sent me some stuff. I said, I have been doing that CBD oil. A lot of people don't know what it is. And then as soon as you say cannabis oil, they say, oh, is that legal? And then often they say, oh, I want my dad to take it or someone to take it because they've heard about how it helps with cancer, and a lot of people have got cancer, and how it helps, with the as you say, with the chemotherapy and everything else. But then they say things like, oh, my dad says he doesn't want to take it because he's not a junkie or he doesn't do drugs. And so it's got a bad rep at the moment, hasn't it? Just because of the way we perceive drugs in this. If you go back 6 months ago, 4 months ago, I just thought all drugs were bad, terrible things, until I started doing my research, and this podcast has led me to believe differently. But the market's about to grow, isn't it? Massively.
It is growing, and it is exciting. And like I say, the more that can be regulated, the better, just for the sake of the consumer, so they know what they're getting, where they're getting it from,
because there's a lot of dodgy stuff out there, is there, Hayley?
It really concerns me that there's a lot of retailers out there that I can't see, like, where's it from, what's in it.
Okay.
What?
Dodgy stuff. Don't buy the dodgy stuff. Right. What's the biggest mistake you've made?
I do feel really kind of obnoxious when I say this, but I don't have any regrets. I believe that everything I have done or have not chosen to do has led me to be right where I am.
Do you believe in fate?
I do, yes.
Destiny?
Yes.
Are they the same? Free will? Do you believe in free will then?
Yes.
You do believe in free will? I don't know whether free will and fate can go hand in hand, can they? Because if you believe everything and your destiny's aligned, then there's not a lot you can do about it.
But I don't know. And I feel like I am in control of my choices, but I draw what happens to me, if that makes sense. So I go out into the world and do the things I want to do, as long as I'm thinking and,
I'm sorry, I've given up the idea of free will. I'm not sure. I think we're just machines, which is what interests me so much about What's that word again? Psilocybin? Was it? Psilocybin, because I think that gives you a way out where you actually start where you're not yourself, and then you can change things.
Yes.
But I'm just working on that theory, so it could be nonsense. But I've listened to a lot of podcasts on it recently. I've never done it, and I've always gone, not a chance would I touch anything like that. And I'm now starting to think maybe
it would make one hell of a podcast.
Maybe, yeah. I need to find some people who are doing it and selling it or doing whatever. Or I think they do it, don't they, in Amsterdam and places like that legally.
Yes,
so
I
think it's illegal over here still, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So right, any life hacks?
Gosh, I can't remember what I said now. Ooh. Oh yes. Well, so I recently took up TM, Transcendental Meditation, and because I'm still very guilty of putting a lot on my plate, because that's just naturally who I am, but I don't want to end up in the depressive state I was previously. So I looked into TM, and it just really gives me the opportunity to get 20 minutes a day that is mine, that I don't get distracted by my daughter, by the dog, by my husband. It's my 20 minutes of meditation.
And what's the difference between that one and any other sort of meditation?
So with TM, you learn the practice of getting into your meditative state without trying. So it's not about focusing on your breathing. It's not focusing about being quiet. It's not focusing about anything. The point is you shut off. So you're not, if you're focusing on your breathing, you're still using a part of your brain to think, breathe in, breathe out. The point is you just close off both areas. So you get given a word that you say, and to begin with, yes, you're saying it and you're thinking about saying it, but eventually it just becomes there without you thinking. It's really difficult to explain, but you stop saying the word in your mind. It just sits there, and that is almost like your anchor.
Who gives you the word?
You get given it by a TM teacher. It's a whole ceremony, which is beautiful in itself. It's a lovely ceremony.
So where do you do this?
There's a TM centre in pretty much every town now. But yeah, the ceremony itself is beautiful. But for me, it was the understanding of just shutting down for those 20 minutes twice a day. It does sound super out there, but the meditation and the ceremony aside, it's what those 20 minutes can give you. You kind of see yourself as a, say, mobile phone. You're a mobile phone and your battery's dying down. The more you kind of overload yourself, the more you're jetting around all day. Doing 20 minutes TM twice a day just boosts that battery power back up again. So I try and do it in the morning, and that sets me up for the rest of the day. Gives me that extra bit of perkiness. I don't often need a coffee if I've done my TM in the morning. It just recharges me back up. Then I start to flag at about 3-4 o'clock on a work day. And again, it just boosts me back up, and then I'm prepared to take on my daughter after I've picked her up from school. It just gives you a restful state without having to sleep.
I love all that, but I'm more interested to know how you get given your word. Cause I'm hoping the man comes along and whispers in your ear and goes, "Your word is," and you go, "Ricycle, popsicle," and he's saying bicycle. How is it he or a she, and how did he decide your?
I had a he. I had a he.
And how did he decide your word?
He just chooses it. It can be. It's random.
What is your word? Are you allowed to say what your word is?
I'm allowed to say.
Oh God, no!
Half of me is suspicious that.
Tell us your word.
Does everybody have the same word? Is that why you can't tell anyone what it is? Because it is all the same.
How many syllables is the word?
I'm not saying.
You can't say how many syllables.
Word.
He said, "But I want to know how it works."
Get your own word.
Well, if it's 3 syllables, you're going bicycle, popsicle, ricycle, whatever. But if it's one word, you're going bread. I mean, like, how does it work?
I imagine it would need to be 2.
Oh, you're going
syllables.
for? Is it always 2 syllables?
I imagine it would need to be, because, like you say, if it was just bread, I think that would be 2.
I used to sit next to someone at Stamford Bridge who used to spend the whole 90 minutes going, Chelsea, Chelsea. And he used to drive me nuts. I think he was doing transcendental meditation, and it was annoying me. So how did he?
You don't have to say it out loud.
You just think it.
Yeah. And then it just comes to
does he write it on a piece of paper?
No, he did. He
He
tells
comes
me.
and whispers in your ear. Are there other people around?
No, it's private ceremony.
Just on your own?
Just on my own.
And he says, your word is? And you're like, oh no, I wanted banana.
I know. It's not my favourite word. I don't like that.
Isn't
word,
it?
But it works.
Can you change
so.
it? He would never know.
I think it's more. Yeah, you could, couldn't you? I think it's more a syllable thing,
It's 2 syllables.
like a trance. I think it's more that, and it gets you.
So it's
into
got to
that
be
kind of-
sing-songy. Give us
Yeah.
like a word, like an example of a sing-songy word which you would choose.
Lovejoy.
Yeah.
Love,
Lovejoy.
joy. All right, everyone listening to this, your word for your transcendental meditation is love joy. Love joy. How would you say it in
But
your
you
head?
shouldn't associate him at all while you're saying it. Don't envision
imagine
him.
me.
Don't think about him.
Think of me
You
naked.
just say the word.
Think of me naked. I'm spreading food on me as well. Like every time you go to meditate, now on love joy, I'm naked,
I think
there's
you've
food on me.
officially just ruined TM for me now.
What was it? Oh, your word was Lovejoy. Excellent. We got it out of her. What was he wearing? What does he wear? I'm fascinated by this.
Lovely. It's a
What was he
lovely,
wearing?
Dapper older gentleman. Yeah.
Was he wearing tracksuit?
No, he wears a lovely little suit.
A
Summer
suit?
suit. I would say it's like a summer suit.
No,
Yeah.
I don't
No,
want him to
he's
be
very
wearing that. That's
dapper.
not what I'm visualizing at all. I'm visualizing robes. And maybe some, swaying one of those things around with smoke coming out of it. What are those things called? I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. And then he comes up and whispers your word. Did you have to repeat it to make sure you got it right?
I did,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you recommend a book?
Wild Power by Alexandra Pope.
Why? What is that? I've never heard of it.
I only discovered it last summer, and it's a book I'd wished I'd had for all my life. I believe every female and male
You told me about
needs
this.
to read it. Yes,
I bought it for my daughters.
Did
I've just
you?
remembered.
Thank
I gave
you.
it to them and they went,
Yes.
that's sexist.
No,
And I went, why is it sexist to give you a book?
it would be
And
the
they went,
best book they could ever
and
read.
then they thanked me later. They thought I was being sexist. They thought I was saying, your mood swings are, sort them out. Here's the book. But it's not
my
that.
husband
is
got
it?
it for me, and he did like, don't take offense,
Right.
but I've heard this book's really good.
So
it's like, yes.
we've had a conversation before, and you said to me it's a great book for you because but you wish you'd read it before you started.
Yeah, so like, teen right up until post-menopause, it goes, you can read it all in one go, or you just select the chapters of the life that you happen to be at.
Right.
Be it a teenager and it's all new, be it in your late 20s and you've just had a baby, you're approaching menopause, all the different stages in your life.
I was just saying I was saying to you, and I was saying to my daughters the other day, because it really made me realise this, that one of my daughters was on the sofa cramped up from period pains, and yet she was studying for her mocks, and then she was having to go in and do them the next day. And I was thinking, that's not fair, because if you're a man, you don't have to ever go through those sort of cramp pains once a month, and she sometimes does, and sometimes which is the book explains it apparently, sometimes has them worse times. But it's really not fair, is it, in the world of exams and things like that?
No, because life still has to go on, and the adverts show that, look, just do this and
Yeah.
everything will be fine.
Get on some roller skates.
Carry on. But that's what is lovely about this book, and it's one of the things I never considered until I read the book, is that, do you know what, it is okay to maybe wind it down a little bit for those 5 to 7 days, because that isn't going to help the pain, it isn't going to help the hormones, it isn't going to help how you feel. So there's a beautiful chapter in there really about how to plan and plan for that time, so that you are doing less, because the stress of exams, it's just going to make your body cramp up, and it's going to make you a little bit more agitated. So,
And when we did a podcast with Robert what's the sleep expert, Dr. Mir Krieger? Yeah, the Professor Mir Krieger. He said that it's also unfortunate for women because of the menstrual cycle. You get hot, and so the sleep is always interrupted at certain times of the month as well, which can be uncomfortable. Final question: what is
Can I
Go
just
on.
say, to pull it back to CBD?
Yeah.
CBD is amazing for period pain. not only just in balancing the hormones, but also in cramping pain as well. Little fact, Queen Victoria used to use it.
So there's me now thinking, well, that might be good for my daughters, but being a dad and a parent, I'm thinking, do I want them to be taking this? Even though you're telling me it's natural and everything else, I'm still having that little fight in my brain, just as you said that. So that's where we've got to go. We've got a lot, well, you've got a long way to go, or the product's got a long way to go before we actually accept it. Whereas if you would say, give them some paracetamol or something, I go, yeah, sure, give it to them, you know. So that's interesting. Final question, what's the meaning of life?
I believe the meaning of life is whatever the individual makes of it, whatever they consider is the most important thing.
Yeah, but what's yours?
Mine? Oh.
What's your meaning of life?
Now I've had my daughter, she is everything. She was what I needed the most to get me through my depression. She was my driving force, and she is all I live for now.
It's true. Children just do make you think a lot, don't they? And put some reality in there. Listen, thank you so much for joining us today. So you can follow on Instagram. Is there anywhere else that you're on? Are you on Facebook or?
We're on Facebook as well at Cannadocs, and our website www.cannadocsshop.com.
Okay, thank you very much, and keep tuning because I'll keep updating people on how I'm feeling on this. Thank you very much. Thanks,
Thank you.
Cheers.